Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. We missed you, and a happy Friday to you. So here's the thing, right? You can prepare for an explosive encounter as Dricus, Plessis, and still, I can tell you now, that's what I believe the word's going to be. He defends his middleweight world title against the legendary Israel Adesanya at UFC 305 in Perth, Australia. This high-stakes showdown on Sunday, 18 August 2024, promises to be a defining moment in UFC history, where two titans battle for ultimate supremacy in the octagon, and all the smack talk comes down to this one moment. And we've got a professional in to just make sure that we are purveying the situation the best way possible. Faiz, the troublemaker Jacobs, is alongside me, a former EFC bantamweight champion, joining us to chat about this epic encounter. So Faiz, welcome. It's great to have you on the show, my brother.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Lovely.
Good to also share some of this knowledge and put things into perspective.
Thank you, because I don't think a lot of people know about the ins and outs of combat. But before we get there, can I set the scene for you?
Absolutely.
Because you said you liked this picture of Dricus and I on the Expresso pages. And the reason why is because we had Dricus in studio a few months back. And this is actually what this guy had to say after winning the middleweight title against Sean Strickland. Take a look.
It's crazy because it feels like overnight, but I mean, this has been...
It's a life.
10, 15 years in making. So when it all came together, you visualize this. I always knew I was going to be champion, or I believed that I was going to be champion.
Yeah.
And when it happens, there's nothing that can prepare you. Even mentally, how you visualize it doesn't compare. And coming home, to a thousand, I don't know how many people at the airport.
Yeah,
It was incredible. I mean, it was everything I hoped for and more, because I didn't even visualize that. Homecoming and spending a couple of days now just alone, just almost, like you say, taking it all in, and now doing the belt tour. It's absolutely incredible. I'm loving it.
I mean, that's the impact of a match like that. Great. Got the title, got the belt, fantastic. But naturally, the next thing is defending that title. And that man, Dricus du Plessis, only had one person on his mind to defend his title, and it's become a reality. So let's take a look at where that came from.
And you must feel it. Now, who's going to try to take that out of your hands? What's the ideal for you? Dana let that door wide open with speculation about the points in the fight, and so he's given himself the platform to line you up with whoever. Who do you want?
The Israel Adesanya fight is, for me, a fight that the world wants to see. It's a fight that the world deserves. The South African fans want to see it. Africa wants to see it, and I would love to see that fight take place here on home soil. That's in an ideal world what I would want.
And the fans, we must give them no choice.
No choice.
No choice.
And here we go. We have the fights happening this Sunday, nice and early in the morning, but we will be there to support our champ. Now, Faiz, let's talk about this, right? You want the fight. He's got the fight. I mean, you, as a fighter, having that particular opportunity to defend your belt against an opponent like Israel Adesanya, with so many different influences coming in, a lot of smack talk, a lot of offense from the other side, lots of training, pressure, you in Australia. What is that build-up, do you think it's going to be like for Dricus leading up to Sunday?
First things first, I have to say this. He called out the best. He went for the biggest dog in the yard to prove he's the absolute champion.
Yeah.
I think that his psychology is beyond his years. I think that he's very sophisticated in his approach, and he's acting like the champion.
Yes.
He's saying to Israel, you want this belt, you come take it from the champion. He's not playing himself small, he's claiming his position, and I think that's what he's going to do exactly in this fight. And that, I think, is his keys to victory, is for him to take up space, for him to be the more physical man in there, for him to show that he can put his presence on Israel Adesanya and not give him the space that many people have gone wrong allowing him to have.
Yes, because you can see the last style bender. He needs movement. He needs that sort of thing. He creates these little spaces in the octagon so he can do those big moves that look very good for camera. That's what I'm noticing about Adesanya's style. But Dricus, if you look at his shot rate, he's putting more strikes in per minute than Israel is. I saw that stat. 6.49 is the number of strikes in a minute versus 3.63.
That is a very high work rate.
You understand?
And for a guy of that size, like people, when you are a lower fighter, a lower class, weight class fighter, you generally put out that type of output. But Dricus is putting this out as a middleweight.
That's
and
correct.
He's also backing that up with power.
Yeah.
He's so creative in how he does what he does. He's constantly changing the image of how he's bringing himself forward. It's a left hand, it's a right hand. He's shooting in on doubles. I think if he mixes this up and he really lets Israel Adesanya feel all his weapons, the power is just going to be too much for Israel to handle.
So we're talking about all the good stuff, right? Faiz, if you were to break them down, both of them weaknesses-wise, and what they can get on each other, what is Dricus vulnerable in that Israel could capitalize on, and vice versa? Just to analyze for a second before the fight.
I think if Israel can keep the distance and make the fight slower and pick shots over time and start to weaken Dricus in the legs and maybe start to weaken him in the body, it could potentially open up a gap. However, I think Dricus depends a lot on his momentum and how he builds as he fights. And I think his style just will automatically lead him to an advantageous position. As he fights, the fight will go more his way. And I just think he's a much better mixed martial artist. And this is not kickboxing, this is mixed martial arts.
I like the fight against Strickland. He was a lot more reserved in terms of his attack. I feel like there was a message that went to him saying that sometimes you go in a lot and you need to pick your moments a bit more. And that's exactly how he won that last fight. You know, usually he's the type of one that's so, you know, the way he goes in, but there was a reservation in him. And then he picked a moment and he went. And I love that about whatever the training is. I think that's fantastic. And I think it's going to count for this particular fight. So, Faiz, in closing, Dricus versus Adesanya. I think that Adesanya's got a lot of the bookies going for him in this fight. Obviously, what is it for you? Very quickly.
I give it to Dricus in 4 rounds TKO.
Wow!
I think he can put Israel Adesanya down. And I think when he does, his physical presence is going to be so much that he will break him over the 4-round space.
It's going to be a fantastic battle. I am excited about it. Faiz, thank you so much for joining us, champ. It's going to be such an exciting battle. And, of course, on the same type of weekend where the Springboks are playing, there's something about it. Also, rumour has it that Ibn Etzebeth and Sio Khaleesi are walking Dricus into the ring against Adesanya. There's no better compliment for South Africa than that. So if you love high-octane action and intense competition, then you're definitely in for a treat.